ever feel alone, just think of me and all the other people in the world that want to help you and your family get back together. I know that if we met, we would be great friends and we could talk about what you are going through and make you feel better. Your friend, Addison. This is a letter to all the children in the detention centers. Do not think of America as a cruel place where people hate you and put you in jail. There are people, good people, who are going to help you find your families again. Family separation is not right, and we will keep fighting until each and every one of you is back in your families again. That is a promise. My father came to America at age 17 with $400 in his pocket. Now he has his own business, a wife, my sister and I, a nice house in a beautiful neighborhood, and is a proud American citizen. So don't give up hope. Anything is possible. With love, Noah.
You can't be with your family. That is so messed up. I would miss my family too. I would miss their hugs and playing with my sister. I wish I could give you a big hug. I know that kids should be with families. My family will keep fighting to make sure that happens. Love, Lucy.
Wow. Welcome back to AM Joy. Right now, people across the country are rallying against Donald Trump's cruel immigration policies and demanding that children be reunited with their families. Joining me now is former State Department Senior Advisor Nayyera, Marielena Hincapie, Executive Director for the National Immigration Law Center, and Anunshay Hossain, contributing writer for Forbes magazine. So that was very difficult to get through that crying. So 4 little kids just read letters to kids in detention who were separated from their parents. We got to 3 of them because we were doing it live. I think that last one might have been Lucy Meneses Sheets because she's the youngest, 7. Nola Trinidade, who is 10, also read a letter. Addison Silver, who's 10, and Olivia Friedman, who's 9. That's lovely. These kids wrote letters to the kids in detention, but how depressing is it that American kids are writing letters to American kids who are incarcerated by the American government?
But they're being taught empathy. That's what I got. They're being taught empathy, and what we've been seeing around the country for people who are standing up and saying, of course you should be, if a parent commits a crime, and you bring a child along with you on a crime, then the child has to suffer also. That is a distinct lack of empathy for another human being. And so I'm finding a lot of hope in this rally and the language and just the people being together and this way we're coming together, solidarity, that we can head in a better direction.
Yeah, and Marielena, can you just reiterate for people, just people talk about illegal entry as a crime. It is a misdemeanor. And also, presenting yourself for asylum, right, is not illegal.
That's right. Joy, the first thing I'll say just in reaction to these children is that this is such a defining moment for this country. I mean, today's march all over the country is a march for the soul of our nation. And these children, right, the fact that they are themselves being transformed just as the children who are being incarcerated are being transformed. And look, seeking asylum, seeking safety in our country has been part of the bedrock of our nation. And it is their right to do so under both U.S. law and international law. And this administration is trying to criminalize and prosecute them for something they have a right to do.
Let me, before we're going to come back to the table for just 1 second, let's listen to John Lewis. He is speaking at the Atlanta rally for Families Belong Together. Take a listen.
In downtown Atlanta, in front of the federal building. You are sending a message. We are sick and tired of seeing little children, seeing little babies taken from their mothers. That's not right. It's not fair. And history will not be kind to us. As a nation and as a people, we can do better, much better. When I listen to those tapes and heard little children crying, it made me cry. So I marched in Washington with members of Congress down to the White House. Don't give up. Keep marching. We will change things. Now, some of you know when I was very young, had all of my hair and a few pounds lighter, I marched. There were people who said we would never get a Civil Rights Act, that we would never get a Voting Rights Act, but we marched. We were arrested, we were jailed, we were beaten, but we didn't give up. We must not give up. I'll tell you one thing that we all can do. We all can do is continue to build what I call the beloved communities. We are one people. We are one family. We all live in the same house, not just the American house, but the world house. We're all brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter if we're black or white, Latino, Asian American, or Native American. We're one people. We're one family. Maybe our foremothers and our forefathers all came to this land in different ships, but we all in the same boat now. There ain't no such thing as an illegal human being. We all are human. And we must teach America, teach people in power, that we will not be satisfied with the order of things. I'm not satisfied. There are hundreds of members of Congress that are not satisfied. There are many candidates running for office who are not satisfied.
That's right.
And I say to each and every one of you, when the election day come around, we got to go out and vote like we never voted before. Getting in trouble. It's time for some of us to get in good trouble, necessary trouble. In the final analysis, we may have to turn America upside down to set it right side up. But whatever we do it in an orderly, peaceful, non-violent fashion. And as Dr. King said on so many occasions, never, never, ever hate. For hate is too heavy a burden to bear. The way of love is a much better way. And we're going to win this victory. The world is crying with us. They think we're losing our way. But we must show the world that we are better than what is going on in America today.
All right, that was the great John Lewis, who's been doing civil rights work since he was 22 years old. He was the youngest speaker at the March on Washington. He's speaking today in Atlanta at one of the rallies that are taking place all over the country that are called Families Belong Together, protesting the Trump administration policy of forcibly separating children from their parents, of incarcerating children, of caging children, of taking babies who are breastfeeding away from their moms and putting them in detention. Understand, this is not summer camp. They are in detention. I've seen it with my own eyes. Taking children away from their parents and putting them in detention. It's hard to believe we're talking about the United States of America, Anunshay Hossain, but we are. We're talking about children, 3-year-olds, standing on a table, having to climb on a table and represent themselves in court. Hard to believe that's America, but it is. Hillary Clinton recently asked about what the right would like to talk about, which is civility, meaning, you know, be nice to them.
Of course.
She says, oh, give me a break. Eyes widening in indignation. Give me a break. What is more uncivil and cruel than taking children away? It should be met with resolve and strength. And if some of that comes across as a little uncivil, well, children's lives are at stake, their futures are at stake.
Exactly. And I think what's so amazing about these marches, and I completely agree with you, this is a battle for the soul of this country. And it's so great that people are out on the streets, not only protesting and mobilizing, but this conversation needs to be taken over and framed by women of color and mothers. It needs to stop being seen as a national security issue where we have old white men telling us about, you know, MS-13. We have dehumanized the president and this administration, immigrants, to the point that we think now seeking asylum and seeking immigration is a crime. It's not a crime or illegal to seek asylum at America's borders. And so I think it's amazing what's happening, because we need to frame this. This is a human rights story. This isn't a criminal story. So I think it's great that people are out there, and we need more mothers and women of color out there organizing and framing this conversation. It belongs to us.
Well, I'll tell you, Nayyera, I'm sitting at a table here with Hossain, Hincapie, and Haq, right?
Yes.
4 women of color from all, backgrounds sitting here. This is America.
This is
why
America.
people come here, because this is sort of the magic that my parents saw.
And
Lomena and Carol, who came from, this is the magic of it, but this is precisely the thing that Donald Trump seems to believe his base despises, and that he can use as a wedge to get reelected and to get more Republicans elected. That's a pretty cynical view of his own base.
Oh, and it's actually a very cynical view of what America is right now, what America will become. We know that in the next 10 or 15 years, America will look more shades of brown than it will shades of white. That is very scary to some people who have actually never interacted with potentially another human being. And what Donald Trump is playing on is sharing now images of fear, making every person who's brown with a tattoo look like a gang member versus somebody who's just expressing similar to white people who wear tattoos, expressing freedom of expression. And the fact that these are the images that are being put out for communities to react to is what's problematic.
Can you talk really quickly, just for a second, Nayyera, having worked for the State Department, how does this look when the rest of the world sees that the American people have to be in the streets to protest taking breastfeeding babies away from their moms in the United States?
I think we have over-idealized what the United States has been to other countries. Other countries are very familiar with this type of activism themselves. They have had to do that to maintain their own democracies, or even just to get to being a democracy in the developing world. So while it does take the United States down a peg, it does humanize us in a way. That, look, we also have to be active in protecting and maintaining our democracy. We have been lazy in years past. People have not exercised the most basic thing you're supposed to do as a citizen, which is vote. And now, yes, we are not only marching in the streets, but we are doing so in a nonviolent way.
Yeah.
That should give hope to the rest of the world.
And Marielena, what hope do these families have in terms of the legal avenues of getting their kids back?
So I think there's a great concern about whether the families will all be able to be reunited. This administration is doing everything possible to stop that. We're waiting for a decision in the Flores case. We just filed 16 FOIAs at the National Immigration Law Center to get the data about what exactly is happening. How do we reunite these families? And there's going to be litigation on many, many fronts. The courts will block this. I'm hopeful for the American people, for voters.
And if they don't?
You know what? America has a history of separating families. We cannot ignore the race factor in this. Slavery, Native Americans. This is not going to happen in 2018 on our watch. We will do whatever we can. We must.
Thank you very much, Nayyera Haq, Marielena Hincapie, and Anunshay Hossain. I love introducing this panel. I love introducing these panels today. This is America.
This is America.
This is what it should be. More Joy coming up live from Washington, D.C., where the Families Belong Together rally is underway, along with hundreds more cities nationwide. Stay with us.